Hi everyone, for today's featured ship we're going to be checking out the Engadine. This reconstructed image represents an illustration of how I first discovered this ship as a World War I seaplane carrier. But for most of its life the Engadine looked like this. A cross-channel ferry with the Southeastern and Chatham Railway. Engadine began life as part of a second generation of new, slick-looking steamers with a clean profile, straight stem, counter-stern, and one central block of superstructure with two evenly spaced funnels. Its sister ship was the Riviera, and Engadine's vital statistics are as follows. Completed in 1912, it was almost identical to its earlier sister Riviera, which had been completed in 1911. Engadine weighed 1,676 tons and on speed trials reached 22.16 knots. The ship cost £82,516, which was £3,000 cheaper than its older sister ship. They were also designed to carry a new invention called the motor car. Engadine barely had a few years on its run when the First World War broke out, and it was decided to incorporate it with several other cross-channel ferries as a new type of ship, the Seaplane Carrier. And as you can see from these images, part of the after superstructure was cut away and a hangar was built with wooden sides and a canvas roof, a crane and derrick set up to accommodate maneuvering the seaplane, and a few guns to be added for self-defense, should and if the ship need to do so. Both the Riviera and the Engadine were set up in this way, as were several other ships, including Ben My Shri, and what would probably be more familiar with many other viewers is the old Cunard liner Campania, although with that ship it was far more comprehensively rebuilt. Engadine survived the First World War and returned to service. In around 1928, it was given an extensive refit and its open promenade was glassed in. 3 years later, it was sold to the Philippines. Operated by Sea Maritima and renamed the Corregidor, this ship was largely unchanged. There were some more deck cranes at both the forward and aft end of the ship, but in terms of profile, the ship remained largely the same. As you can see, it had a very clean and balanced look. It operated for almost 8 years, relatively uneventfully, with no issues, until the Japanese invasion of the Philippines began in December of 1941, and it was during one of those crossings that the ship struck a mine and sank. The wreck is still there, however, it is heavily broken up, particularly in the forward and midships area. Some accounts say that the boilers blew up as the ship was sinking. It could be also just simply exploding steam, or just simply the ship going through the violent motions as it went under. A violent end to a ship whose career really was bookended by war. It had barely begun service when it was used as a seaplane carrier, and then it ended with the onset of another war, and in between that it served reliably and safely as a ferry, both with the UK and with the Philippines. However, if the story of the Engadine has piqued your interest, then you may be interested in this book, World War I Seaplane and Aircraft Carriers by Osprey, which is a nice and affordable introduction into how ships were converted and operated, not just with the UK but other countries as well during the First World War. This is a great introduction, and basic statistics and career summaries of the Engadine and its sister, the Riviera, are included in this book. However, for a far more detailed look at the experiences and the operations of World War I seaplane carriers, then check out this magnificent book called Ben My Shri, which is named after this famous vessel, written by Ian Burns. Check out my review of this book for all the information. But it is essentially the most detailed and most personal look at what it was like to serve and operate a World War I seaplane carrier, and more specifically, a ship that had once been a cross-channel steamer. So this one, much highly recommended. And if you want to learn more about other cross-channel steamers, then this book, Merchant Fleets by Duncan Hawes, volume 24, yes, is also a good start. There's 3 of these, volumes 24, 25, and 26, deal with the extensive cross-channel ferry services. And this one too is a good introduction to the many other ferries and running mates of the Engadine. And there you have it. Plenty of books to pursue your interest not only of the Engadine, but also of seaplane carriers of the First World War. So, do enjoy.